Welcome back, everyone, to O'Neill's Grill as we continue with our weekly Fan and Press Lunch. This time we have JMU men's basketball coach Matt Brady in attendance. And the Dukes, since our last meeting here, went 1-1. They lost on the road in a very tough ball game against the Towson Tigers. That was on Thursday night, 69-67 the final. And then a very exciting ball game to wrap up the regular season on Senior Day at the Convocation Center. The Tribe of William & Mary, 71-65, the final against the Tribe. Coach, what kind of week was it for you this week?
Well, I think the first game, Towson, close at half, really competitive, physical game. Came out in the second half, and really not until the last 10 minutes did Ron Curry get started. And I think it was another example of second scoring or third scorer trying to get going here. Thought Tom had some baskets, but generally against that team in their building against their defense, we needed some people to make some plays and some shots, and we didn't get enough points in that game. I thought we defended fairly well, and obviously keeping them off their offensive glass has been a challenge. They do a really good job of coaching that aspect of the game. They're really physical, and they got. I think that was the deciding factor in the game. 11 offensive rebounds in the second half, and hard to beat anybody when you give up that many offensive rebounds. And then, Saturday, a terrific basketball game. We're a little bit undermanned, but what an awesome atmosphere, great crowd support, tremendous showing by our students, probably the best of the year. So a really good win for us against, obviously, a team that we're going to be playing again on Saturday.
Coach, the three-point defense, after giving up the first three threes, it's been similar the last couple of games. Towson got a couple of early threes, and then you shut them down. The same thing with William & Mary. How was it during the course of this season, and at what point did you feel like you could really be good at defending the three? What pieces of the puzzle fell into place for you?
Yeah, well, coming out of November, we'd played obviously a number of games in November, and we kept tinkering with what exactly we wanted to do. By the time we got to the middle of December, we thought we were doing some really good things. I think one of the things is we've spent a lot of time talking about it with our team. We do a good job, I think, closing out with high hands. We have lengthy perimeter guys. And I think one of the things that we've done a better job of, especially in January, is that Joey McLean's been much better. Joey's a smaller perimeter defender, and I think in November people were just shooting right over him, even in December, and he'll still hurt us from time to time because of his size. He's not aggressive enough taking away that shot. But we think by the middle of December we figured we had it figured out for this group, and the numbers speak for themselves. It's really tremendous, and it's really a tribute to our guys understanding what we've asked them to do and taking it to the next level, really.
It seems like a simple thing, but you spoke about Joey McLean in your post-game press conference on Saturday about the energy level that he plays with and trying to get him to do that. It seems like you just go out and you say, you need to play with higher energy.
Right.
But it's not that easy.
No.
How do you get that to work?
No, it's been an evolution. I think he's still a younger basketball player. His role has changed. Freshman year, he played some, and then we threw him into the starting lineup in January, and he played terrific offensive basketball, and our team finished 10-3 with him in the starting lineup, I think. And then this year, he wasn't a starter, and his minutes were up and down, and we've kind of settled in on this rotation, and I think he's very comfortable with the rotation, and whether he starts or comes off the bench, he recognizes his importance to our team, and he gives us a second ball handler, a second guy that threatens the defense to get in the lane off the dribble. And, he can score in the lane because he pivots, really well for a guy that gets in there quickly. I thought a key play in the game the other night against William & Mary's at the end of the half against their zone. He got into the crack and kicked the ball to Jackson Kent, who made one of his 2 threes. I thought that was a significant play because it gave us momentum at the end of the first half.
You've also spoken, and we've seen that he does Joey McLean then again, doesn't lack for confidence. He'll take the big shot. This is an interesting situation because you do sign a kid that's got a lot of confidence, but sometimes you have to kind of get the undercurrent of that confidence, not to break it, but also to kind of harness it, if you would, for the positive. And that again, I think, takes some time for them to develop. Maturity, I guess, is what you're talking about.
No, and I think that's part of it. And I think, like all high school basketball players, they get to this level when they're new to college basketball, and they just expect that they're going to be double-digit scores. They think it's going to be easy. I can't really explain it, but and probably it's part of the recruiting process. We've got to, we all recruit young players, and we tell them how important they're going to be in our program, what a great experience they're going to have, and we're going to win a lot of games, and you're going to be a big part of this. And they get here in college, and they're guarded by bigger, stronger, older guys, and it's really hard. The good thing about Joey is he doesn't lack for confidence. He does believe that he can score the ball, and he's done a much better job of being a distributor, and he's taken better care of the basketball in the last couple months. Joey's a little bit haphazard with the ball, and so we really do need his offensive productivity and his ability to facilitate, not just shoot and score. But he's a good offensive player, and the good thing is his defense is caught up.
Coach Brooks was sharing a phone call that you and he had after the game on Saturday, in that Coach Brooks would have liked to have seen Curry leave the ball game there when the game was, quote unquote, in hand. I don't know that you ever felt like it was in hand.
Yeah, there was a chance where with about 8 seconds to go, and there was a dead ball, and I was running down trying to get a sub in, but the referees had put the ball back into play. But we would have liked to have gotten Ron back out of the game so that we could have heard the crowd. And likewise, if I had been thinking ahead, which I wasn't. I was just worried about trying to get the win. To have gotten Winston out first and then Ron, that would have been the way to go. And Kenny picked up on that. And I did try late, but it was too late.
But even that being said, Coach, I think the way that the game played out, the fans did not get a chance to really applaud them individually. But it was a game in that both of them obviously had significant impact on the victory. So it's really a genuine senior day for them.
No, there's no doubt. And I've said time and again, a very admirable quality of Winston Gray's. He's handled starting last year to going off the bench. And then this year, minutes up, minutes down, and asking him to do some other things and be more of an intangibles guy defensively. And I thought he really added energy. He started the game, made a couple mistakes, came back into the game. I thought he played with really high-level energy and great shot selection, which has not always been the case with Winston. But in that game, made a couple of shots, and he made the cross-court pass when they were trying to trap us on the sideline to Jackson for an easy layup. So he was really good. Now we're going to ask both those guys to go do it again. Depending upon Winston starts or doesn't start, he's obviously a key to our team, and Ron obviously is one of the all-time great players here.
What's the status on those? Because you had just the 10 to work with on Saturday. Do we have, it's been a couple of days, any further updates on those two?
Yeah, Shakir will not practice today, and it'll be a day-by-day examination with our trainer, Corey, to figure out when he can get back on the court and have a full practice. We're hopeful that it's this week, but don't really know that just yet. We won't know until he gets on the practice court, but that won't be today. And then Dimitri will practice some today, and I think the issue with Dimitri is will his hands swell up after being on the court for an hour. So that's something that we've got to monitor every day. We will practice today and tomorrow and take Wednesday off and not do a lot on Friday. So there will be opportunity here for Dimitri to get his hand ready to, what he's going to be facing.
Okay, I'm going to have some more questions at the end here for you, Coach, but we're going to turn over to other members of the media here at O'Neill's Grill with men's basketball coach Matt Brady.
Well, Coach, on Saturday, I know you talked about how if it's significant or not to play the same opponent again the next week. Are there any aspects from Saturday's game that you take going into the first game at the CAA tournament, or do you kind of just completely throw it out the window because it's a different situation, neutral site?
Well, I think there's two things. One, we're comfortable with our game plan versus William Mary. They're obviously not going to change all that much. We think that they'll do a few things more, right, that can create opportunities for them. So we've already talked about it as a staff. So we'll make sure that what we think we'll see more of, we're prepared for to defend it. I think the other thing that we gained some confidence was the ball really moved versus that 3-2 zone that they employed that gave us some trouble in their building. Now we've got to cut harder, and we've got to continue to move the ball and still try and post the ball when we can versus the 3-2. But I think our offense versus the 3-2 was really good. And I think there's some things they can do to disrupt us a little bit. They employed the half-court trap, which I thought was helpful to them, and we didn't react favorably to that. But there's not a lot of changing here. So I think we gained a measure of confidence here, particularly being down a couple guys.
the routine is different going into the postseason, but we've talked numerous times this year about how great it is to have the bulk of your nucleus coming back. How much of that experience will play a factor for you guys or benefit you guys going into this CAA tournament?
Well, I think I'm certainly going to remind the guys here in about 45 minutes about how we didn't play up to our level, and the other team coming after a win here in the last regular season, after a loss against us in our building, Hofstra, really kind of took us out of it physically, where they overwhelmed us. I don't think we'll see the same kind of overwhelming physical presence by William & Mary, but I think we'll see some things from William & Mary, and we've got to react. I thought we got down quickly in this game. We called a timeout. We regrouped. So no matter how the game flows, we've got to fight adversity on a neutral court. We won't have the benefit of such a raucous crowd that we did the other day. So we're going to have to fight some adversity because William & Mary's not going away. I fully expect this game to be right down to the wire. I mean, it's just the way that these games go. And we've got to fight hard. We've got to figure out a way to come out with a win, and hopefully we'll make enough plays at the end to win the game.
Obviously not having Tom a detriment in the lineup on Saturday, but the fact you're turning to play William & Mary again and him sitting there studying the game, are there going to be some things hopefully he can pick up on that might help him when he gets back in the lineup on Saturday?
Well, I think Tom's played really well here in the last month, and I think he's become a guy that has a little bit more confidence scoring the ball. And I think he watched his teammates have opportunities near the basket that they played at a nice pace off the dribble near the rim, and I think Tom knows he can impact the game with a little bit with his scoring. Tom is, really in terms of buying into the scouting report, he's really very sharp, and so I think he sat back and watched us do what we did defensively and created some indecisiveness on their part. I think he'll pick right up on that, but I think more than anything else, I think Tom recognizes hopefully that he can impact us with some baskets. If he gets 2 or 3 baskets, that really helps us.
Yvonne coming in, the short period of time, it was a huge lift for you because you and I talked about your rotation in our pregame, who's going to play when and how much,
right.
and that will be dictated by the game. But just talk about Yvonne's few minutes and how he really gave your team a lift.
Well, he was terrific. And again, to get a couple of baskets and a couple of offensive rebounds, really significant in a game that's really going to be close. So offensive rebounds, shot selection, and pretty solid defense. He got caught once on a backdoor. But I thought, again, for not having played an awful lot, I thought he was ready, much more ready this game than the previous home game, where I thought he was a little bit more nervous. So I think he was more ready in this game than the last one. And, if his number's called on, I texted him, late that night after the game, and he texted me right back. I said, again, I think handling his role and being ready when he's called on really shows a lot of character, and it shows the kind of kid that he is.
You said after Saturday's game that coming back to play William & Mary again is kind of like the toughest thing in sports. You had to do that last year with Hofstra. What would you say you learned from that experience last season, and what would you have liked to have done differently?
Well, I think, not that we weren't ready for Hofstra ramping it up, but I think we've got to be ready for William & Mary's absolute best game. We've defended them now twice. Statistically, they've played 29 or 30 games. Statistically, our defense has been top. They've had 2 of their poorest performances offensively, 2 of their worst 6 games against us. So we've got to be prepared to do it at a much higher level defensively. And then got to make sure that anything they do, that they don't catch us off guard. There's a few things we think they can do defensively, that we'll have to be ready for. And so we need more contributions. We need more guys to be ready to step up and make some plays and some baskets. Can't be prepared for Ron to get 26 in this game or Yohani to have the same exact game. You need guys to make a couple of shots and a couple of plays and make some more effort plays. And if we do that, I think we'll be right there to win the game.
Compared to where we were a couple weeks ago, would you say you're feeling a lot more optimistic about maybe having your full arsenal in Baltimore?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, though, now, because with Dimitri, how much does he play, and is he ready, and is he going to press a little bit? So I do worry about if we do play him on Saturday, does he press? Does he try and make his impact felt? Does he feel like he's got to do something positive in terms of scoring, which he normally does, to stay in the game? We really need guys to play at a very high level defensively because we think that's where we can win the game. And then be opportunistic offensively. And Dimitri, if he's ready, can help us offensively. There's no doubt, but we need him to be very sharp defensively.
And then with Shakir, given he's probably not going to practice a lot, if at all, this week, you plan on just using him off the bench, if at all, if he can play?
That would be my plan right now, that the Shakir Brown would come off the bench, unless, after Wednesday he has 2 great days of practice and he's showing no ill effects from this injury. But he's still a little gimpy. I wouldn't expect him to get to practice, until at least tomorrow, if not Thursday.
Ron's been a leader all season. What have you seen from him now towards the late stretch in his last season? Like, how has he just kind of stepped up?
Well, again, I think his shot making under duress has been tremendous. It's really a hard thing to do, to be the other team's marked man and know kind of what, the other team kind of knows what you're going to do, and you still go do it. It's really hard to do. You watch these guys on TV, and these pros are the best in the world. They do it. But at the college level, Ron's been remarkably consistent. We need to be consistent for one more weekend. He really needs his teammates to step up and show some consistency this weekend, and that's going to be the theme for our group here. Be opportunistic and be consistent, and do what you can do, but don't do more than you have to. So, I'm not taking Ron for granted, but hopeful that he can continue on this very high level that he's established.
Along those lines of teammates stepping up, what sort of things you guys have to do to get Yohani started early, like on Saturday?
Well, I think when Yohani plays with energy, quickness, and confidence, he's a good basketball player. He hasn't been as consistent this year as last year. Last year, I think for a sophomore and a first-time starter, he was remarkably consistent. He's kind of having the junior year I expected last year, and the sophomore year I was hopeful for this year. So, again, you're just hoping in March you're playing your best basketball. You couldn't ask for a better game from Yohani at either end of the court. Yohani was really sharp defensively on Saturday versus William & Mary. We just needed him to be that sharp defensively, and go score like you could do, and then take care of the ball, which he didn't do in the last game. He didn't do a great job of taking care of the ball. He had a couple of turnovers, and he needs to take care of the basketball.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, one other question before we let you go. This weekend, it was an emotional weekend, both men and women's basketball teams with their senior days. During the men's basketball game, of course, you were focused in on the game itself, but there was also the halftime recognition and the honoring of the only commissioner in the Colonial Athletic Association, Tom Yeager. This is your 8th season here, of course, in this league. You've been coaching in other leagues as well. And what has your relationship been like with Commissioner Yeager? And when you looked out from afar, and now you've worked with him in the last 8 years, your perception?
Well, first of all, I think as great as a commissioner as he's been, I think from my perspective, he's a better person. And what coaches look for from administrators, and he obviously is an administrator, is empathy. When things don't go well, is he on your side? And Tom Yeager has been remarkable for all the coaches in the league. Speaking for the coaches, I can say we're proud as coaches, 10 of us, that we can send him out on a high note from a men's basketball perspective. And I feel like we've done everything we can to elevate our basketball program. His tenure here in the CA has been remarkable. Maybe as profound a commissioner, maybe as anybody in the last 20 years. If I look around, there have been very few commissioners that I'm aware of, and I'm not terribly astute at this, but there's been very few commissioners with the tenure and the longevity and the impact that he seems to have had. But again, his family's awesome. He's been a great commissioner. I really think a lot of his wife, and we enjoy when he's in the building. And I think more than anything else, when you do have a loss, Tom Yeager seems to have empathy for the losing side, and as a competitor and as a coach and a former player, that's all you can really ask for.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. The Dukes in the CA tournament quarterfinal game will be on Saturday afternoon. 2:30 is the tip-off at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. If the Dukes win there, they'll advance to play at 1 o'clock on Sunday, and the championship game is set for 7 o'clock on Monday. We hope we're there on Monday. Thanks again, Coach. Best of luck this week in the CA tournament.